Well, folks, welcome to the After Game podcast here on the Washington Football Maniacs podcast channel here. I am Greg Sykes along with Brandon Scott, my co-host here. And folks, a lot to talk about. We're going to try to condense this down in about 20 minutes or less. So let's get to it. So it pains me to say that the Washington Commanders now have fallen 7-5. You start off 7-2. Everything's looking fantastic. This team was eyeing two big games that could really put them over the hump. And then all of a sudden, well, guess what? We lose those two games. Played pretty well in those games. Well, I will say we played those teams pretty well. But lost those games. Had a little mini bye here. Wanting to get through with that. They had good practices. Everything is like going to be back to the way it was. And then they come out and offense is just flat. Defense played pretty well. Although there in the first half, Dallas, that first drive, actually the first couple of drives, they did pretty well driving the football down. And then, the defense continued to get aggressive, trying to create turnovers and things like that. But the offense did not play complementary football. When you only score 3 points and a half against a team that is scrapping for their lives, you have got to be able to put them away. And this team doesn't have a killer instinct, obviously. They had Dallas was giving them every opportunity to blow them away, and Washington just could not do it. That they could not do it. Even coming back that last 30 seconds, Brandon, after all that, and I'm jumping up and down, and I'm, my wife is sitting there next to me, and I'm like, this is crucial. The guy get this extra point. And we watched him miss that extra point, and I was just like, I was throwing stuff. I was hitting the chair. Like, I don't usually get very mad, especially in the last few years, because it's like, why? I expect this. But it's just, this is shades of, what was it, 1996 all over again. The Redskins started off 7-2. They ended the season. What was it? Was it 8-8 that they ended the season? Or
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and they missed the playoffs, of course. This is looking eerily similar to that. You start off, it looks like they can't do anything wrong. They're privileged to the fact that you'll beat them down. They'll come out and throw a Hail Mary at the end of the game, and you just can't beat those Commanders. And then all of a sudden, your quarterback gets hurt, plays hurt, but still putting up pretty decent numbers. But then going against two very tough teams, contenders in the league, that kind of knocks you against the ropes. And then this game. This is one of those, was it a trap game? I don't know. But it was a horrible performance by the offense until, the second or until the fourth quarter. Unbelievable pass to Terry McLaurin. That was fantastic, but there's nothing that we can really say, Brandon, that I think would justify this loss. This was the game that they should have won. But you know what? I hate to say it, but what did we say before the beginning of the season? 7 wins.
Yeah.
Are we looking at, Brandon, could this team I know that this is loser talk right now because, obviously I am upset of this game, but could this team wind up only winning 7 games this season, looking at what they've got going on with the rest of the season?
I mean, absolutely. Look at the schedule. I mean, you got to kind of recheck the schedule real quick, right? I mean, it all comes down to this. You got to play on the field. You can look good on paper, but you still got to play the game. And a lot of us were feeling ourselves 7-2. Really refreshing to see us winning for once. Like I said, new front office, new owner, new coaching staff, new additions in the draft and free agency. So, a lot of people were excited, including us, very excited to see them at 7-2. But then here's the thing, we got a little hit ourselves, right? And we always do that, man. And like I said, it's not really a bad thing. Like I said, we're very excited. It's the most successful team we've had in a while. But I felt like they really were starting to feel themselves. And look, they got snuffed out a few times. I mean, Pittsburgh, they showed that they wanted it more. We played them well, but they wanted it more. Philadelphia, they showed they wanted it more. And with Dallas, I actually put this down as a loss because I knew it. There's a couple things that really made me think this was going to be a loss because one, people are already putting it down as a blowout. It's like, nah. I kept telling people all week long. I said, look, this is Dallas, man. It doesn't even matter what our record is or what their record is because every time we play the Cowboys, man, it is a tough game and it can go either way. And so when people start saying, "Oh, we're gonna blow out the water," I said, "No, man. I'm trying to tell you, they can punch us in the mouth." And because we're a completely different team. What other factors would look different with the team within the last couple of games? Kingsbury does it every year. He comes out flat like an old soda. I mean, he does it every year. And his offense looked fluid and dynamic in the early part of the season. But then what's natural in every sport? They're going to make adjustments on you. And they made their adjustments on how our offense runs. So, I figured it was going to happen a lot sooner, but the NFL took notice. It happens every time. If you look at RG3, the rookie year, if you look at the later stages of that season, yeah, it was a magical season, but they figured the offense out relatively quickly, and they were able to have a lot more success against RG3 in that offense. So the people are going to make adjustments on you, and they did that with this offense. He's got to change some things. He's starting to look like the previous offensive coordinators, where they're not willing to make those adjustments or take more risk, or it's just he's too running the same plays. It's stagnant. You're not utilizing the weapons you have, and now it's at what point we had depth. Now you have B. Rob's having injury problems. Eckler, hopefully he's okay because that was an injury where that could be not only a career altering injury, but that could be a life altering injury, man. So, once I saw him not move and once I saw him kind of, his nerves going a little bit, man, I was very, very concerned with him because, he's also in the later stages of his career. So, how does it affect him going forward? So, hopefully, prayers out to him. He's all right. But we lost, we killed ourselves. And we did it the last 3 games. We killed ourselves. The pass interference calls, both on I can't even pronounce his name. Igbinajin is but
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
I just kick it out, man, for some reason. But 2 pass interference calls, and then we get an interception, and then it looked like for a second he gave the ball up. I mean, the fumbles, it was sloppy. No bad execution. And I'm looking at that comment from a few people on the comment section. Terrible execution. Every stage of the ball. I mean, how many times did we give up kick returns and touchdowns? Twice. I mean, the one was he did a spin, and that was all it took. He cooked them. And the second one, he picked up the balance and ran right in. It was slop. It's just we got a little ahead of ourselves. We were feeling ourselves, and the NFL, like it always does. Plus, especially towards younger teams like ours, we're up and coming. They let them know that look, it's any given Sunday. You can lose. And look, Pittsburgh lost at Cleveland. Houston lost to Tennessee. This is the season. It tells you that it's any given Sunday. Any team can win any given Sunday, man. And that's what I'm saying. People came into this matchup like, oh man, it's a loss. It's a blowout. Cooper Rush. I mean, yeah, Cooper Rush. Yeah, he looked high today, man. I mean, CeeDee Lamb looked pretty good today. That running back they have over there for Dallas, as much as I hate Dallas, hats off to them. They wanted to win this game because where are they at? They're not a playoff team. They wanted to play spoiler, and they did that. So now I think they need to go, get back to step one and really was brainstorming and figure this thing out. Because if you look at the schedule, Tennessee, look, they play tough. That could be, you don't know which direction that could go. The Falcons, you best believe Kirk Cousins is going to try to get some coming to DC and win that game, man. Best believe that. I mean, Dallas again in Dallas. I'm just saying, we we're kind of 50-50 in Dallas when we play on the road. So, how many wins can we get to 8? I think we can get to 8, but after that, and that shows you, man, how things can change, how dynamic, man, it's been a long day. Dynamic a schedule can kind of go back and forth, right? Because there was at one point we're like, oh, this is a 12-win team. Now we're like, can we win another game? And that shows you that they've got to make adjustments, and they can't allow other teams to constantly make adjustments on them. So that's where I'm at, man.
Now I was setting up, so I didn't see what happened to Austin Eckler. Uh, honestly, after that last touchdown run, recovery and run, which I didn't think that the receiving team could advance the ball on a onside like that, but maybe that's an old rule. It wouldn't have mattered anyway, but yeah, somewhat. You alluded to, and then Tone Ho here is alluding to Austin Eckler's career might be over. So I missed what happened with Austin
Yeah,
Eckler.
it was a kick return, and he was trying to split through the two defenders, man, and it was him and the helmet hit, and it was a pretty hard hit, man. Like I said, he automatically his body was limp, and what kind of pissed me off was I believe it was number 41, where it's totally oblivious to the fact that he was on the field, not moving. He's over there arguing about a fumble call, and it's like, come on, man, really? I'm not gonna get too hard on the guy. He may not have known that he was down, but I mean, when you see everybody else looking at the field and you're bouncing up and down, talking about a call, situation awareness kind of kicks in, or you would think so. But I mean, it's just we do it every time, man. I think that we're better than this last 3 games. We're a better team than this. And looking at the comments, I agree with Loomis where it says, "Now we're hit a schedule, can't think like that." Now I agree. You want to keep that winning mentality. I think we're a good team, even though I think we're still a playoff team. I think that our deep playoff run's not going to be till next year. I think we need that playoff experience, and we're not quite there yet. Even though I do think we're a playoff team, but you have to look at the schedule and say, look, we've got to be on our P's and Q's. We've got to be operated at full throttle if you want to beat Tennessee, because you cannot discount any team in this league. And like I said, we got to hit ourselves. We got cocky. We all did, man. Like we all got guilty for that. And the NFL said, look, you can look good on paper, but you have to play on the field. And look, we're learning a lesson that last 3 games. So hopefully we get focused and we beat Tennessee, and we look at the Saints, and we look at both of those guys, with a little more importance, with a little more respect. You know what I mean? And we go in there and get the job done.
Well, I mean, they have got to. Well, of course, you can't overlook Tennessee, just like we did Dallas, obviously.
Yeah.
But let's just humor us. Let's just say we are able to bounce back against Tennessee, and then you hit a bye week. If you're Dan Quinn and company, you're preaching that whole time that look, this is it. You have got to play your best football on both
Yeah.
sides, all sides, special teams as well, because special teams today
Wow.
did us no, you know, well, at the beginning, they really did help. They blocked a punt, or
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
blocked a field goal, they blocked a punt. So they did do well, but then coverage killed us, obviously, at the end of the game. But you have got to bring your A game.
Yeah.
He's got to give the message that if you think that you're ready to make the playoffs and to make noise in the playoffs, then you're going to have to play error-free football the rest of the way. You can't play like you did against Dallas. You can't play like you did against, the Eagles. You've got to be able to bring your A game. Yeah, yeah. I think Tone is feeling my thing. We might be at 7-10 if we're losing games. Right now, I mean, it's a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah.
And now you can't say that, well, it was against teams that are playoff teams. Dallas is not a playoff team. Unless they win the rest of their games, they're still not making the playoffs. I'm sorry,
Nah.
they're not.
Nah.
So to lose this game against a Cowboy squad that's been reeling really humbles you. It really humbles you. My hat's off to the Cowboys defense. They came to play.
Oh yeah.
They shut things down. They took away the running game, and they took away Terry McLaurin again. That has been the key for stopping this Commanders offense, is taking away Terry McLaurin. Now, of course, McLaurin had, a couple of catches. Of course, that big catch toward the end there, that was really nice to see. But for the most part, again, kind of being a non-factor for most of the game. You take away your number one receiver, you take away the running game, and they're like, okay, then put pressure on Jaden Daniels. And that's exactly what they did. That was the recipe that um, you know, the Pittsburgh Steelers had. And then, of course, the Eagles followed that same recipe too. Dallas followed that recipe. So if you're Cliff Kingsbury, you got to be able to see that I've got to make adjustments. Uh, I've got to be able to figure out how in a world can we get Terry McLaurin more involved. Well, first of all, I understand the whole air raid offense. Usually your receivers are going to play just a certain side.
Oh
But
yeah,
I think in this instance, how that you create match over, or I should say, mismatches, is that you've got to be able to bring Terry McLaurin in motion, have him motion to the other side, have him moved around. I don't think you keep him on one side. Um,
yeah,
so I think you got to start getting more creative to get more opportunities for Terry McLaurin. Um, as far as the running game goes, I mean, yes, you still want to be able to have a running game. You got to be able to have a tough running game.
yeah.
But you got to figure out some way. I mean, just running up the middle, a couple of times, and then suddenly you put yourself in, third and long. That's not going to do it. I mean, yeah, that you could say that's old Redskin football. We had John Riggins back then, who usually would get at least 4 or 5 yards per carry. So, um, you know, we've got to be able to create like some more, uh, misdirection type of plays. Where
Yeah.
you get the defense going one way, you go throw back on the other side. We had a lot of success doing that against the Eagles, against some other teams. You got to be able to be creative, and there's not been a lot of creativity out of Cliff Kingsbury in the last few weeks. And what you alluded to, Brandon, is that he seems to do this. So that's what makes me nervous. We're in the middle of the season, getting ready to head toward the latter half of the season, the last half, the stretch going to the end of the season, and he suddenly can't be creative on offense, and suddenly your star quarterback starts struggling.
Oh yeah.
Um, you know, it is very frustrating. Would I have dreamed before the season? Would I have dreamed that this team would be at 7-5 right now? Probably. If you asked me at the beginning of the season, I would be like, "Oh wow, we're actually a good team."
Right.
You know, but considering the fact that this team was um, what they were like 7-1 or something like that. Like after the
Believe
first
7-2.
game, the seven, yeah, and then they're 7-2, and you're thinking, "Oh wow, this team." Oh, good. I muted myself. I should not
Right.
touch any of my wires. Uh, but what I was saying is that you know, then you're looking at 7-2, and you're thinking, "Wow, this team is special." And then all of a sudden, you
Yeah.
start seeing this big skid. And so, after witnessing this team being 7-2, leading their division, being the second in the NFC East at one point, I'm sorry, in the whole conference at one point,
Oh yeah.
we really started believing it. We really started believing. Now, I'm not saying that this team's not going to be able to make the playoffs. Would I be surprised if they don't make the playoffs? No, I won't be surprised, honestly. But uh, given the fact that such a hot start,
Yeah.
being all of those games above 500, you do expect at this point to be better. or to at least win the games that you feel like you should be able to win. This was the game they should have won, and they didn't. And my hats off to the Dallas Cowboys. They wanted it more than what the Commanders did. Commanders did whatever they possibly could to try to at least get this game in the overtime. Siebert, who had not missed an extra point all season, missed two today. It wasn't in the cards, Brandon, for this team to win. Just wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll be all right. I mean, but we got to make adjustments. We've got to figure out ways to get more creative, like you said, on offense and the secondary. I don't, obviously, when we get some news, we'll put a video out for you guys with the status is on Marshawn Lattimore. But we need him. We need a guy to lock down the one guy on the other side because the secondary, they're hurting, they're struggling, but we got to make those adjustments. We got to put the work in. But I think that you look at the schedule, it could go either way. Like I said, you can't discount Tennessee. You cannot overlook New Orleans. I'm telling you, because they will humble you. And going to Dallas, definitely want to win that game in Dallas. Definitely want to beat Philly here at home. So, like I said, we're in must-win mode. We can't. We don't have the luxury of kind of taking our time or taking lazy days off anymore because we're not 7-2 anymore. We are now 7-5, 3-game skid. So we've got to hurry up and figure this thing out because no pun intended, the ball's in our court, right? I mean, because we've got to execute, man. And that's what I'm saying. That the schedule could go either way. You got to go in there. You've got to. To me, this is me personally, but I think that the next game is must win. You got to beat Tennessee because if you lose to Tennessee, then you're looking at this team differently. You've got to beat Tennessee. You've got to make those adjustments at the bye week, and you've got to come out. You got to beat New Orleans and New Orleans. Those are two must-win games because if you don't at least split those games, man, then you're probably looking at a totally different season because going to Dallas is never easy in a division game, and you still got Philly. And we all know that, look, when Philly or Dallas comes to Northwest Stadium, it's pretty much an away game. So you're pretty much playing at Philly again. So they've got to make those adjustments. They have to, especially offensively. We got weapons. Now, I know the running back situation is a little murky now because Eckler's down. B. Rob is not 100%. So, next man up. They've got to want it more, Greg. They've got to want it more. And that's where I'm at.
Well, it's just at the point now to where it's, you lose next week, you're 7-6 going into a bye. And then you got what, 4 games?
Yeah.
4 games left? 7-6? Yes. Do you expect to go at worst 3-1 going down the stretch? I mean, that's kind of a tall task considering what the schedule looks like after the bye.
Oh yeah.
If you split and go 2-2, you're what, 9-8. You're not making the playoffs.
Nope.
You are not making the playoffs at 9-8. So this next game is a must-win game. They have got to get to 8-5 to get to the bye, and hoping because I don't expect them honestly to win 3 out of the 4 games the rest of the season. After that, yeah. I don't. I think it's going to be a 2-2 at best, and so if they can get to 10 wins, that's still iffy. That's very iffy. They may make the playoffs at 10 wins, but heck, in the past I've seen it doesn't happen very often, but I've seen teams win 11 games and not make the playoffs. Back at what was it? That New England game, or New England season without Tom Brady when he was out. They went 11-5, missed the playoffs. So plenty of times I've seen teams win 10 games and not make the playoffs. So at best, honestly, I'm thinking that if we can win next week, we may be able to split the last 4 games, make it into the end of the season at 10-7.
Yeah.
Still a whole lot better than what I think any of us would expect it. But there's going to have to be a turnaround, a big turnaround in that offense. They got to start putting teams out early. And I felt like that was part of their success before. But at any rate, well, folks, we were only going to stay on for about 20 minutes. We're going a little bit over. And Brandon also does the Locked On Wizards, and so he's got to get in there and he's got to start watching them Wizards play.
Oh
So
Lord, it's gonna be a long day.
gluttony for punishment. Yeah. Oh man, but folks, I mean, what more can we say? But this was a game we needed. We didn't get it. Gonna have to regroup. I have to see what they look like next week, and hopefully we'll get back into the win column right before we go into a bye, and maybe that will give us enough momentum to head in to the rest of the season and see how things look. But yeah, this was very pivotal. This was a huge blow to the Commanders' playoff push.
Yeah.
Huge blow. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but at the same time, I think we all have been kind of getting ahead of ourselves, looking at this mirage of a season. Hate to say it, but kind of is what it is. All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed spending a little bit of time with us. We're going to go ahead and call it a day. But if you enjoyed this live stream, please, give us a like. Leave comments. I appreciate the ones who are in the comments section and have been talking and chopping it up with us. We really appreciate all of your guys' support. But with that said, I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to end this. Brandon, any last words before we go off and finish crying?
No, sir. Like I said, we got to make those adjustments, man. But look, we figure it out. We'll be all right, man. We'll figure it out.
All right. Well, we got to figure it out. All right, folks. Hope you've enjoyed this. We will see you in the next one. And please make sure that you have subscribed to the channel. Hit that notification bell to be notified for all videos, not just a few, but all the videos. And with that said, we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.